Someone caught feelings for me and I chickened out in the worst way possible. Warning, some audiences may find this content disturbing. View at your own discretion. Welcome to the House of Reddit. Today, we share some recent r/confessions posted on Reddit. Someone caught feelings for me and I chickened out in the worst way possible. I used to talk to people on the internet quite often, mainly to rid myself of the constant boredom I felt. I was about to give up on trying to socialize online after the realization that the conversations I had engaged with lasted no longer than a few minutes or so had dawned upon me. That was my momentary decision before I was added into a group chat. They seemed to be a close clique and told each other everything. They were a bit juvenile for me, but it was refreshing. I was so uptight, I thought I could loosen up a bit. So I stayed. And that's when I met the person who developed feelings for me. And to be clear, the following statement may seem very narcissistic, but it isn't uncommon for people that I conversed with to start developing feelings for me. It isn't because I was attractive. No one knows what I look like. But this person was different. While the others started liking me romantically for no apparent reason, I know that this person, we'll call them Alex, developed feelings for me because of the joking we used to do together. I used to joke a lot and use sarcasm to get my point across. And Alex and I would sometimes flirt. I use that term very lightly because they were only mere compliments, rather than blatant attempts at seducing. I thought it was fine because the members in the group chat used to do that together with seemingly platonic intentions. None of them caught feelings for the other. Things escalated once they decided they were going to start fake dating each other, and whichever pair fell in love would lose. We were grouped as pairs and I ended up being paired with Alex. The game only lasted for a day before I got a message from one of Alex's friends informing me that Alex had feelings for me. Flustered, I messaged Alex to confirm. I never mentioned their friend and instead, opting to ask whether we lost the game or not. I didn't know what to do because it had only been 2 weeks since I began talking to Alex. And I had no idea how to end this game without hurting their feelings now that I knew they liked me. I thought I liked them too. And at some point, I got butterflies thinking about Alex. But I told them that we couldn't be together instead and we should probably just stop playing this game. Alex's friend didn't take too kindly to this and started attacking me on the internet. Alex's friend said that I lead them on. And that I was a terrible person for toying with somebody's feelings like that. I never addressed Alex's friend but instead, deleted my account permanently. There isn't a day that goes by where I don't think about this situation. And I still feel guilty about it too. My French encounter, buying weed abroad in a sketchy park. Listen, 23 male, may be a pothead or whatever, but let's keep an open mind here. I'm from California, and I spent some time in France where weed is not legal or as available as in California. Having been in France for a while, I forgot the feel of a good high and the taste of good weed. On a weekend trip to a city in the south of France, I was walking around a park with my boyfriend when I smelled a familiar scent, weed. Fast forwarding past a bit of convincing of my BF who also loves weed, I decided I would approach 3 fellows who were smoking, and my BF would keep an eye on me from afar. Not the best plan, but hey, read on. I approached them and realized I didn't really know what I was doing. Anyway, I asked them if they speak English, and they say no. My heart drops and I tune my brain into French mode, granted I don't speak very well. Somehow, I instantaneously asked all of the right questions and avoided getting scammed. They seemed both impressed and confused. I paid for the weed, met up with my BF, and we made our way to a tabak for the remaining supplies we needed. We smoked it, and it was such good weed. Not the best I've ever had, but way better than expected. Plus, it boosted my confidence in my French ability. I guess my advice to everybody is, do your thing. Take that risk, calculated of course, go to that bar, try that food, etc. while you're traveling. Who knows when the next time you'll have that opportunity is? I used to work at a stadium, steal 24 beers and sell for profit. I worked at this stadium for a couple years. I'm always dreaming and scheming, and I came up with a plot and I'll explain in full detail. Usually all hawkers stand in line to get their beer coolers topped up when empty. They give you your beer, You give them the money from the last run you made, which was $275, and you would rinse and repeat. I would drop my beer tray off at the refill table saying I have to take a whiz, never questioned, and would leave to the restroom without paying. By the time I would get back, my beer tray would be full, and I would just grab them and go. Being 23 at that time, it was amazing money, with most nights me stealing 2 cases of beer to sell, $550, plus the $1 to $200 in tips I would normally get. Wasn't easy work though. The stairs were narrow and tall, and you can't see them with a hawker cooler in front of you, many nights selling 6+ trays, then grabbing frozen cold beers in the winter to give to your customers, without gloves, cause good luck handling money with gloves on. I ended up getting fired for drinking a beer and watching the game after our shift was done, which ended 3/4 through the game. Wrote a very offensive nastygram to my teacher in 7th grade. I went to a private school growing up because I have ADHD and it wasn't a thing in the school system back then. So you were kicked out of public school because you wouldn't try, etc., as it wasn't understood yet. Anyway, in this private school you'd be stuck with the same teacher a majority of the day. This year, however, I had a teacher that would single me out all day. Looking back, I realized she said some pretty passive-aggressive things towards me. I was too young to understand at the time. Reason: she most likely hated me because I was hyper all the time and took a little effort to control. To be fair, a number of the teachers were like that. When your job is to handle the worst of the worst, I personally couldn't do that job looking back. Anyway, about halfway through the year I had about enough of this mean lady. At the time I was a subscriber to Nintendo Power magazine. That month's issue came with a sticker sheet with multiples of every letter. It was intended to customize your Nintendo and controllers with it and such with your name. Most kids would have thought, yay, free stickers to deck out my Nintendo. Me, I saw an opportunity to communicate what I really thought about my teacher anonymously, because computers in school weren't a thing yet and you'd be caught writing something like this based on handwriting. So that evening I sat down at my desk and went to work. Going into detail how much of a bitch she was and how she thinks she's special than everyone else and should reflect on who really needs the help here. Among other unpleasant things I can't remember. I was limited by the stock of stickers, so I had to make it hit hard and make it count with what I had. After I was finished, I was pleased and hit it very well to take with me to school the next day. The following day after school was over, teachers leave first, then the students. I hung back and waited for the hall to clear. Her classroom was very close to the office, so I was nervous as hell. All I had to do was slide the letter under her door. But if a single staff member saw me, they would know who did it. It was a small school. I managed to slide it under the door and run to the bus, heart pounding from the rush of it all. I never said a word to nobody. I figured they would start fishing for information. If I was the only one talking about it, I would show my hand. So I kept quiet. Looking back, for an 8-year-old, that's pretty logical thinking. Teacher never said anything, but anytime she talked to me I locked eyes and felt comfort knowing she read that. When I was a child I was a serial molester. I do not remember when it began, but all I know is that when I was very young I was obsessed with sexes. I wanted to see the girls one so much it was an obsession, and I even said it out loud at least once while when with my parents. That obsession brought me to play doctor as much as I could. I remember once I undressed a girl in a McDonald's playroom when I was 4. Once even I did it in plain lunch at kindergarten, and it was just a miracle they let me go without any hard reprimand. The things began to turn maybe when I was 6 or 7. I was with my little cousin and I undressed her while we were watching a movie, away from our parents. She did not even complain, and I wish I could tell her today how sorry I am. Also during that time, I had my first kiss. I had a crush on one girl of my school, and one day, I taped on her shoulder, she turned up, and surprise, everyone laughed, especially the adults, and me of course. Even her, while she denied my demands. Around 9 I had my first true girlfriend, and we touched each other as much as we could. I don't know who made the first step, but we had a lot of mutual and consensual fun. During all that time, whenever I could, I would try to get opportunities to see my mother naked too. Every time I could sleep in her bed, I would try to touch her in her sleep. I didn't manage to though. Until I was 11. That's when, following events, I had no bed for myself, so I would sleep in hers for an entire year or so. That's when I began to train myself to undress her as much as I could without waking her. Sometimes I could touch her boobs, or her ass, but one day I managed to get to my holy grail, and she woke up. We talked about it with my dad. But I didn't got punished. Just a promise to not do it again. I still did it a couple more times without getting caught that time though. I tried to calm myself after that. I understood from now on that I had been very lucky so far, and that one day luck would run out if I continued. The last time I got wrong was also the worst. I was 14 and found a girl that liked me. One day after school I got her to my home and we planned some FFXIE while cuddling. Things got along, and we kissed. One of the best kiss I remember so far. I began to massage her while undressing her, a technique I worked on my cousin, and every time I was removing something I would ask her, "Can I?" I continued until I tried to get her panties. But when I asked, she said 4 words that still haunts me today: "Do what you want." How was I supposed to know what it meant? I didn't, and so I finished undressing her. I touched her down and as inexperienced as I was tried to get inside immediately without preliminary. We stopped quickly and I dressed her back. She didn't call nor answered me ever after that day. We forgiven each other later as her fear was simply that I did not have a rubber. So that's where I am now. Soon 18, but already with a shitty life behind that was built upon lies. I have been clean for about 4 years, so I do not seek help, because as opposed as before I understand what other can feel. Though the don't do to other what other can't do to you rule was a real mess in my case. This is the first time ever I will tell my true past. I wanted to. But I hope I'll never be forced to tell it again. First time getting drunk, multiple felonies committed. A few years back, my friend Jay and I were 15 and looking for trouble. Neither of us had a license because we were too young and we were pretty bored over Thanksgiving break. Jay's friend lived near us, and although I knew his friend well, we didn't always get along. Jay's friend and his family were out of town for Thanksgiving break and we had the bright idea to pay their house a visit. It should be noted that they own 2 cats that they love very much. First, we rode our bikes to Jay's grandmother's house and snuck in the back door to steal a big bottle of vodka. Then, we made our way over to the friend's house with ill intentions. Got in the house through a window, found the dad's car keys, found a BB gun, and some cookies and cranberry juice. The first thing we did was mix a few vodka crans and watch TV. It was around 4 p.m. at this time. The next thing we did was take the car keys and illegally drive, while drunk, to pick up another friend of ours. Then, we go back to the house with the intention of getting plastered. Once we get back, I start throwing down shots like I'm a party animal, even though I am a scrawny sophomore that has no idea what he's doing. I quickly get too drunk too fast. We ordered a pizza to get delivered, and when I open the door to meet the delivery guy, one of the cars darts out and we spent 15 minutes wandering around before we found him and lured his back with a laser pointer. Then we decide to have a few more drinks and eat the pizza on the roof. Halfway through the pizza, I lean over and puke a horrendous quantity of vodka, cookies, and pizza all over these poor people's roof. I spent the rest of the night and next day throwing up everything I had ever eaten in the bathroom and regretted it instantly. The crimes that we committed were grand theft auto, breaking and entering, driving without a license, underage drinking, petty theft, and actions that should bring us bad karma. We never told Jay's friend that we had broken into his house. When the family got back from vacation, my puke was dried on the roof and they made Jay's friend clean it. While it's a great and crazy story, I still feel awful about it and can't fathom how stupid everything we did was. I felt so bad for Jay's friend, having to clean some throw up off his roof. I know the entire family was completely bewildered. Asked all their neighbors if they had seen anyone coming in or out of the house, but we had been sneaky enough. I'm pretty sure they are now convinced that it may have been a homeless person or something. Now Jay and I are roommates at a good university and have been inseparable since, and never had any fallout from that night. I slashed the tires on the bike of a person who stole from my work. I work in a drugstore that has a lot of theft. I deal with it all day long and for the most part I let it go. Tonight, however, was different. This man walked into the store and put his bike and one of his bags up front, a common practice here, when he went to shop. My alarm bells for thief were going off right away, and I knew that when he went into the aisles with one bag in hand he was up to no good. I told him, "Sir, you need to leave that bag up front too." Dead silence from him. I said it again, louder, "Sir, you have to leave your bag up front." Nothing. He was ignoring me. Now, being ignored is not uncommon at the store, but for some reason this particular person and this particular time, being ignored really pissed me off. I actually don't even know what overcame me, but I have had a pretty terrible past couple days, again, not uncommon for me, so I don't know why now. But I had this thought that I wanted to slash his tires. We have very sharp box cutters at the store. I knew I could get away with it BC his bike was just out of view of the cameras. So, I methodically walked over to the tire and slit it right then and there. It made a much louder noise than I expected. That wasn't good. But I think I was in the clear. I don't think he heard me. But maybe. So a couple minutes later he comes up with cereal and couldn't pay for it. He ended up stealing some rubbing alcohol according to my coworker who saw him. He left and I didn't see him for the rest of the night. So yay guys. This is up there on one of the most malicious things I've done. I have done other malicious things, but this is more life-ruining and violent than any of the others. I'm pretty scared he will retaliate. I'm scared he will put the pieces together or that someone saw him and told him that it was me. I hope my car is going to be okay. Damn. I won't be doing anything like that ever again. If you enjoy this video, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please let us know in the comments below. Turn on the notifications to know when we post new videos. Thank you for coming to the House of Reddit.